I would suggest starting with mapping what you need to comply with. For most SaMD companies starting now, that would be the MDR, ISO 27001 and ISO 13485. I am Knijn. I am a regulatory affairs specialist for MedEnvoy and I started last year, December 2022. I am a subject matter expert in software as a medical device, SaMD, and information security. For startups, to start off is quite hard. There are a lot of unknowns. The MDR, for example, is written at a very high level of reading skill required. So I think it's really challenging for many startups to get started with regulatory requirements, even though they might have this great idea and maybe even some medical background supporting the idea for a new medical device. They might not have this regulatory experience, and a lot of standards and regulations are built upon the presumption that you have experience. So where do you start with that experience? And that is often where consultants come in to help these startups get ahead. It's really hard and expensive to reinvent the wheel, especially if a notified body comes in to tell you that your bicycle wheel does not fit the car. Consultancy really helps avoid that. The difference between getting a certification for an SaMD device as opposed to other devices is usually data privacy and security. Especially for software as a medical device, you often deal with patient data, health data, very sensitive data that needs to be protected properly. That would require the manufacturer to look at the GDPR and ISO 27001 and 2. On top of that, you also have a very different look at usability following ISO 62366. Next to that, the IFU and the labeling is fully online, so there is no kind of printed labeling, no printed IFU, and many requirements are written for a printed labeling or printed IFU, so that makes it a little bit different on knowing how to interpret that. And then lastly, there is a need for a software development procedure and a plan following ISO 62304, and this is also something completely different than what is required for other devices. One of the first things you would encounter trying to get the right certifications for an SaMD is getting a certification for ISO 27001. And this is an international standard to manage information security that is done by creating an information security management system. This basically means that the manufacturer needs to have an overview of all the types of data that are stored within their systems and how sensitive each type of data is. For example, patient data might be much more sensitive than employee data, even though the employee data still needs appropriate means to protect them. The manufacturer would start with mapping which measures are in place to protect which data. So for example, if you use an external service for storage, like Google Drive or SharePoint, you would go into those details of how those services protect your data and whether that is enough for you or not. I would suggest starting with mapping what you need to comply with. For most SaMD companies starting now, that would be the MDR, ISO 27001 and ISO 13485. And then on top of that, you would see usability following ISO 62366 and the software development procedure and plan following ISO 62304. You would probably want to start with implementing both ISO 13485 and the MDR simultaneously, because ISO 13485 has a very big chapter on product development. This also ties in with the MDR and the sections on product development and the requirements that you need to take into account during product development. So those two really go hand in hand, and I would recommend starting with the both of them. In industry, it happens more often than not that the product is like 3/4 developed and then they realize, oh, we need to do something about regulatory. And I do not recommend that, but it is possible to still start. Better start now than tomorrow. If you have not taken into account any risks, so if you have not done a risk assessment, when you do the risk assessment, that would translate into new requirements. For example, if you need any alarms, any pop-ups, warning pop-ups. A part of compliance is knowing what to do for each requirement. For some requirements it's obvious and some it's not obvious at all. There are standards way to ensure compliance, but it's really hard to figure out what these standard ways are. That is really where consultancy can come in to help you realize what to do and how to do it. If you have any questions on regulatory compliance, especially for software as a medical device, but also for other kinds of devices, please reach out to me or the regulatory department, and we will be happy to help you with all your small and big questions.